I just clicked on this sticker for Rocky over here. It's labeled as Nasty Man. Well, for this account fixing video, there's a couple really special things about this account. For one, it's an adventure rank 60 account. For two, you can see Spiral Abyss has been cleared up to floor 4, chamber 3. But both of those aspects are not important today, because the most important thing is the fact that the account owner for this Genshin account is 78 years old. A few weeks ago, Loredana sent me this email. This is probably my favorite email I've ever gotten, to be completely honest. So this account fixing video is going to be maybe a little bit different, because when I talked to Loredana, like, what was highlighted to me was that she like didn't know what a charge attack was, which means I might be focusing on a bit like lower level stuff for this video. It's not like my goal is not to just clear Abyss, right? Although I probably will try to clear Abyss because I think that's fun. Loredana's main request was that she was struggling with clearing the likes of the weekly bosses, right? Just going over some more underlying simple things, I think, in this video. And the reason I'm going to do that is just to make less assumptions on, you know, the knowledge that Loredana has on the game. And also, I just noticed, okay, interesting. So I haven't looked at this account at all. We'll do my normal thing where I'll look through the account and see what the characters of everything looks like. But it's definitely a rarity to see Vortex Vanquisher on Zhongli. Normally, charge attacks are one of those things I'm not going to explain to a viewer, right? Whenever you're trying to teach anyone anything, that's the goal of this video series, by the way, is not to just be like, oh, I'm going to farm for eternity for you and fix problems by farming for the best. No. My goal is to use these as a way to just like, hey, look at players' accounts, like different kinds of player. Oh my god, okay. Does she get every character in the game? Oh. Okay, no, not every character. And by not every character, only 2. Every other character, okay. Interesting. There's a little bit of 4-star neglect going on here, to be completely honest. I like how Kaveh is one of the few 4-stars though that gets to be above level 80. Let me finish my yapping before we get too distracted by characters. So, right, I don't want. I'm gonna try my best not to make assumptions, right? Because when you're teaching anyone about anything, you're trying to inform someone of something. You always gotta make assumptions about like pre-existing knowledge people have. On the simplest level, I'm going to assume that you, dear viewer, understand the English language, right? That is an assumption. I don't know that everyone watching this, and in fact, I know that Loredana, English is not her first language. In fact, the ways that I speak with English might actually be a problem for Loredana to be able to understand some of the things I'm teaching, right? We make assumptions in things when we talk to people. Point is, my goal is to make less assumptions about Loredana's knowledge about the game especially. Games oftentimes don't tell you in the best ways how their mechanics work. In the context of charge attacks, like the game says, oh, consume a certain amount of stamina to lunge forward. How do you do that, right? Because Loredana was confused about that, I believe, due to the Arlecchino boss fight. In this boss fight, it says do a charge attack, but it doesn't say how to do a charge attack in the game. Does even like Nuvilette say how to do a charge attack? Let's check. Because like charge attack on Nuvilette is his whole kit. No, it just says while charging up, he does his thing, right? So like it doesn't actually tell you in game. You have to hold the normal attack button to do a charge attack, right? Loredana didn't know that. And that's not her fault. That's just, you know, a lack of familiarity with like games in general and knowing that there is tap and hold versions of things, right? Skills do say hold, charge attacks don't. Now, I'm not gonna go in depth on every single individual character's kit and whether or not like a charge attack is relevant on one character or another. That is not within the scope of this video. When you make assumptions about things, you never know when someone you're talking to just maybe didn't realize something as simple as, oh, you know, you do a charge attack. Whenever you talk to people that play games that are not, you know, as familiar with normal game structures, you end up running into these circumstances where it's just like, oh, it's a game design failure, in my opinion, that Loredana did not understand or figure out herself what a charge attack was, right? And it's part of why I don't like, you know, the way that Hoyo does tutorials for things. Like, this is so bad. 100%, 100%, 96%, like, holy, all right. Very nice. You basically 100%ed everything, but have chosen not to do the Yougou cleansing. Oh wait, I forgot. She sent a follow-up email like telling me she couldn't figure out how to do this. So I guess that's on our to-do list. We'll go see what we can do for that. Interesting. I wonder what issue she was running into. We'll go see what that looks like after we look through some of the characters here. Although, oh boy, is there a lot to look through. Well, I definitely get the vibe that Loredana likes to pull for signature weapons. I don't, I wonder if Loredana just pulls for the weapons that she thinks looks nice. Maybe. Artifacts, that is a good amount of art. This is, oh yeah, this is the amount of artifacts I expect for an AR-60 account. Well, okay, it's not that crazy to be honest. It's really funny. Like if you don't bother with Spiral Abyss, you really hardly have to bother with farming artifacts meaningfully. Learning the way that character kits work and the way that the game's mechanics work is far more important than just like getting the right stats in your characters. Like if you don't know what's going on in the game, you're gonna struggle more than you're struggling because your equipment doesn't have enough crit substats or whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna try to blaze through things really quickly here and see what we got going on. Actually, okay, before we look at individual characters, what does the overall teams look like? Not many teams at all. I'm gonna have to look at the let me look at some translations. We'll see if Google Translate succeeds here. Balena means whale, so this is probably for the Fontaine whale boss. The translation for this team, resting for now? I don't know what that means. This is just preferred, which is the team that was active, so that makes sense. This is must try too. Okay. Will it be good? I mean, there's definitely better Arlecchino teams you can make, but hey, you can use Ganyu as burst support and do like melt Arlecchino, technically. Jean isn't necessarily the most useful here. This team is called Must Try. You can't exactly use Arlecchino and Neuvillette the same team together unless you're just not really using Neuvillette. So I would suggest a different unit here. So I guess like as far as what I was talking about with assumptions earlier, of course, when it comes to Genshin team building, generally speaking, if you have a unit that has a kit that they want to stay on field for a long time, then you usually design the team more around them. And if you have two units that want to stay on field for a long time, the team usually doesn't function that well. This one is obviously perfectly fine. This one, you know, let's reconfigure this one to my recommended Arlecchino vape team. St. Joe I don't like with Arlecchino for her, because his cooldowns, he just has too long of a cooldown on his burst, so I either prefer Yelan or C6 Candace, also definitely works. But of course for Loredana, Yelan should be better in her case. Kazuha is definitely stronger in this team. You do something like Arlecchino E into Bennett, into Kazuha Swirl Pyro, and then you activate Yelan, and yep, there you go. What's the Kazuha build look like? BV, 800 EM. Okay, this Kazuha was definitely not bursting very often. Kazuha does not need to burst in all teams, such as this team. You would usually just press E. Honestly, I think one of the problems this account has is just you have so many characters. They all kind of seem to be built enough to be functional that it's hard to say, oh, you should do one thing or other. You have so many options. So, Loredana, you're welcome to contact me and let me know if there's any particular characters. I don't think I'm going to focus this video on, like, oh, you know, what team options do you have? Because to say the least, I think you have every team option in the game, essentially. Cloud Retainer signature weapon would have been nice, but this is not, well, okay. This is probably not enough ER for a lot of Cloud Retainer teams. Ideally, you'd want an attack percent main stat circlet, not a healing bonus. ER timepiece, so yeah, sure that. I guess I'll do this instead. There we go. So, okay, the ER situation is still a little bit rough. This is the struggle with using a non-ER weapon on Cloud Retainer, but, you know, Cloud Retainer's healing still scales based on her attack, right? And her buff also scales on attack. So if you want her to, like, buff your plunging damage meaningfully, and you want her to heal meaningfully, you want to just build her, like, full on into attack and then have enough energy to burst consistently, because you need to burst to do basically anything relevant on her. So if you need more healing, I think it makes more sense, you know, level up talents more than anything, rather than bothering with a healing bonus circlet. Raiden has 300 EM, and interesting. Technically, okay, and so what's funny is, like, for this team, having a bunch of EM is probably really good on Raiden. A full Hyper Bloom build would technically be better, but second best thing is this is like hybrid Raiden, but a little bit more sad. Kind of perfectly fine for this team. I assume this is not, yeah, it's a C0 Raiden. Okay. St. Joe, I mean, main thing with him is he definitely has enough ER. He is not going to crit for ever, but it is funny to be seeing no leveled up EM goblets. This can be tweaked around just slightly, and you could deal more damage. She might prefer a Hyper Bloom build on Raiden, quite frankly. Hyper Bloom is definitely the thing that Raiden is by far the best at. You can probably force 4-piece Blizzard Destroyer by borrowing a piece from Ganyu or something. Well, that's a Hu Tao crit ratio if I've ever seen one. Unless it's MH. No, it's not MH. Okay. Alright, in this circumstance, even this crit rate circlet, which has it doesn't have very good substats, this Hu Tao build is now immediately better. Alright, what's Benny look like? Bennett's obviously... okay, not that it's bad to have Bennett on a healing-focused build. Interesting. You do have an Aquila. Okay, it's not fully leveled. Also, I just realized, Pestering Desire, this is probably the weapon that should be used on Farina now that I think about it. Funnily enough, I think Mist Splitter is going to be better for Bennett, so... like, it's kind of crazy that this account is as old as it is, and there's so few Noblesse pieces. So I don't think we're not gonna switch to 4-piece Noblesse today. Less of a priority versus just making sure Bennett can burst consistently in general. 250 ER Bennett on Mist Splitter. Honestly, pretty dang good. Okay, this Navia build could probably use a crit rate circlet. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I mean, especially with that good of a crit rate circlet, I'm going to steal that from Dendro Traveler. Here's Navia's build now with a crit rate circlet. Like, Navia is a character that feels so much worse when I played her when she doesn't crit. Like, oh boy, it's just she feel not great. Honestly, overall, most of the characters here are built to be more than functional, I would say. It's interesting, right, looking at these characters, because they're all... hey, you got a good amount of ER for Eula at least, but she's not going to crit very often. Other than the fact that, you know, things like weapons would need to be leveled more potentially and whatnot. These builds are all more than functional, I would say, for how Loredana is playing the game, right? I wanted to put an ER timepiece on Yelan, so Loredana could use Yelan with Arlecchino, for example. Aqua is fun to use on her, so, you know, I could just put her on Fav, but honestly, I know, I'm just going to assume Loredana is not even using Shungling that often, so we're just going to yoink Shungling's good piece and put it on Yelan. Oh, what the heck? Ayato has this goblet. Okay, well, here, let's yoink that. And now build looks like this. Wow, yeah, okay, this... okay. Took Yelan from a 2-piece build to a 4-piece emblem build. This is suddenly a really, really good 4-piece emblem build. Okay. Baiju should probably be on 4-piece Deepwood. He also doesn't have anywhere near enough ER. Amber is a good choice for him. Okay. That's unfortunate. We have no Deepwood ER timepieces. Okay. Yeah, there's no way I can get Baiju on 4-piece Deepwood and with enough ER. Ideally, Baiju wants, like, probably towards 200 ER, because you oftentimes use him like solo Hydro, say, as a healer for Farina. All the characters are definitely well built enough that they are functional, definitely for Loredana's purposes, and I'm pretty sure I could probably clear this entire Abyss cycle, 36 stars in all, with the number of characters that are built and like the quality of artifacts on them. None of them were like insane or anything, but they're all at like reasonable stopping points that made sense. Like, for the most part, I can say Loredana does like build her characters pretty correctly. There's a little bit of an issue with lack of good options for ER pieces, so for the future Loredana, I do heavily suggest, you know, probably keeping more ER timepieces. Your options are a little bit limited for me to like reconfigure some of your supports to be useful. Other than that, maybe like Fischl could be very worthwhile to level to 90 and get on 4-piece Golden Troop, but Loredana certainly has plenty of other options available. Before we move on to anything else, I really quickly want to go test out Raiden on a full Hyperbloom build versus a non-Hyperbloom build. I just clicked on this sticker for Rocky over here. It's labeled as Nasty Man. Alright, let's go destroy the Nasty Man. Oh, this account is great. It's an absolute delight playing on this. Just because I was just mentioning Fischl. Here's an example of Fischl's great to have in your overworld party, and you don't have to switch characters to shoot stupid balloon things. Alrighty, so to deal with the Nasty Man here, well, not necessarily to deal with the Nasty Man, but this could, you know, this team can absolutely deal with the Nasty Man, right? So we're doing, what are we doing? 23,000 Hyperbloom damage. It's not bad at all. But we can definitely do a bit more. We should probably just go on Nahida instead of Xingqiu there. Obviously, the Hyperbloom damage here is fine, but we can also do much better. Now, this team does technically have the value of being able to still burst on Raiden pretty consistently, and obviously you can see she gets 100,000 damage, so technically this is like a hybrid Raiden build, and you know what? I really like hybrid Raiden. Funnily enough, the fact that Loredana has just accidentally built her Raiden in a hybrid playstyle is great. I would honestly consider just staying on this build just because of the fact that it's more fun. I do want to at least compare to like a Gilded Dreams build though. Is a lower investment way to get utility out of Raiden. I'll leave this Electro Goblet because there was no leveled up EM Goblet. And we'll just use the level 70 Dragon's Bane. So we have 794 EM on four-piece Gilded Dreams. Alright, hello Nasty Man again. Do this, do that. And Saint Cho. Oh, I had skills on cooldown. And did I not? I should have had E going before I started doing anything. But anyways, you can see now we're doing 32,000 Hyper Bloom damage, right? Then you can just on-field Nahida as need be. You can, use Zhongli Burst to freeze things. I do really like doing a Hyper Ride and playstyle because I think using Hyper Ride and Burst is, fun. But this is a way, a much lower investment to get damage out of her that might be compelling. Obviously, though, on this build, the burst isn't really doing meaningful damage at all. Overall, I would honestly say that, like, I prefer the previous build, so I'm going to switch her build back. I just wanted to show this, right? Because you have different methods of utilizing Raiden's kit to its fullest extent. That lets you, deal with nasty men. Figure we should go and look at what's going on with this Yougou cleansing quest and see what was preventing her there. I don't remember if there was some specific mechanic that could make this challenging. Maybe it was just like the miasma causing self-damage that Loredana was having a problem with. Is it just the puzzles or... And I think the number one thing Loredana might not have realized is just that grabbing these things prevents you from taking damage from the miasma or whatever it is. So that might have been her main struggle, I suspect. You can go over here, pray. And I don't know... Okay, well, another problem. I think you can't actually, like, apply elements to this thing, which means this team doesn't work. So that also might have been part of Loredana's problem. Though I suspect the main problem was the other thing. Wait, what? Raiden just doesn't hit it? What's happening? Okay. Yeah. I think the answer is this boss is a little bit jank. I don't know why Raiden's initial hit didn't hit. So yeah, I think the notable flaw on a game design level for why Loredana might have been having issues is probably just that miHoYo assumed that the player would realize, that they need to grab those Electro Grana to be able to not take damage. And Loredana might have just been dying from the constant damage, right? I don't think the puzzle was so complicated that was her problem. So I can only assume it was just the Electro Grana mechanic. And, we gotta wait for it to do its laser, yeah, sure. And there we go. Anyways, I'll let her finish up this this quest on her own. The number one lesson, I think, from this to anyone watching is just, like, it's important to pay attention to the introductory mechanics of any region, because miHoYo, but it's a game design level in general, but like miHoYo in particular, when they design like new regions, right, they pretty quickly usually introduce you to these things. When you first come to Inazuma, I believe, as soon as you leave Rito Island, right, and that's supposed to be miHoYo's like tutorial to you to say like, hey, around Inazuma you should be grabbing these things to do different things. But I do think it's a design problem in that the things you do with these are inconsistent, because, for many players, I bet the main thing they think they do with them is they just zoop around these lines, when in fact the mechanic actually does more. It protects you from damage in, like, areas. Alright, so before we head to the Abyss, just because I think it would be fun to try Abyss on an AR60 account that hasn't gone past floor 4, we're going to go over the weekly bosses, because that is specifically something, as I mentioned before, Loredana specifically wanted me to look into. If you don't care about watching this part, feel free to skip ahead to Abyss or whatever. The main lesson here is ultimately going to be that understanding enemy mechanics, not just bosses, but just enemy mechanics in general, is actually a really important aspect to how hard this game can be. You can have all the tools to deal with every freaking enemy in the game, but if you don't understand the enemy mechanics enough to know which tools to bring to deal with the problem, then the tools do nothing to help you, right? Not nothing, to be clear. Obviously, strong characters can still kind of just brute force your way through content anyways. Anywho, we'll be starting with the Arlecchino boss first, because I do think this is probably one of the harder ones and has one of the most weird set of mechanics that you kind of have to interface with. As far as like the damage type to pick against Arlecchino, she has 70% resistance to pyro damage, so if you bring Arlecchino to the Arlecchino boss, you will struggle more, right? And there's one specific mechanic in the Arlecchino boss fight that I suspect Loredana might have been having an issue bringing Zhongli, particularly if, she wasn't bringing any other healer with. The other thing I would recommend for a lot of these bosses, they tend to like move around a lot and whatnot, so having characters like Farina that can automatically attack things and deal damage without you having to, you know, think about things can be really nice. I was gonna consider bringing Yai, but level 50 Yai. I'm so sad. How could you do this to me, Loredana? Anyways, point is, having some amount of range or whatever automatic damage abilities that don't require you being in melee range can be nice.
With the fall of darkness, destruction shall rise.
There we go. So you can see on our health bar, she puts Bond of Life on us. And the Bond of Life mechanic will drain our Kazuha's HP, right? Yeah. We hear you. We're running away, I know. To get rid of Bond of Life, you just need to heal. So we'll put Farina on healing mode, and look, it's gone. And then that gives you this little special thing that you can see circling around Kazuha, where, oh, of course she just ran away. Once you do a charge attack on her, and like that, you can see she takes, she takes a bunch of damage. I got another bond applied to me because I got hit by her again, but you can see we can just heal up with Farina, right? So this is a fight where you're supposed to bring a healer. I think that's probably the main thing that Loredana was missing. She was probably just bringing Zhongli because that's what people do with Zhongli. They just bring him everywhere and think he's always successful when he's not always successful. So yeah, that's literally all it was. And in Nubilet's case, he can heal himself. So if he gets any Bond of Life on him, you absorb the balls and then he heals himself. The only reason I had to switch to healing mode to heal up Kazuha was because, of course, Kazuha needs healing from someone else to heal, and Nubilet does not need anything. See, it goes away, and we... Okay.
Who's next?
I'm being bad because I'm trying to talk about things and I'm not paying attention to what she's doing. That's the only thing, right? Bring a healer. And if I wanted to have an easier time, just bring a team-wide healer like Baiju. Yeah, this is definitely a harder boss fight for sure. I need to stop yapping and actually fight. This team is obviously more than good enough to be able to take care of the Olekino boss fight. I just was yapping and not paying attention to what she was actually doing. But we could do an even more brain-off version by like using Baiju, or Cloud Retainer would also be a very good option. You know what, since I've recently reconfigured Bennett to be a bit more usable, we're going to use Cloud Retainer, Farina, Bennett. I think Cloud Retainer might have a little bit of energy struggles, but it's fine. You know what, let's do some Navia plungies. Oh yeah, it's easy to forget that at the start of these boss fights, it usually gives you a bunch, like, to be clear, I think this is also, again, not great game design as far as like, oh, telling the player the information they need with a bunch of text on screen. Like, no, way too many people will just immediately click through this and never read this, right? Or actually, in this case, like, it says clearing a bond of life, but I'd be willing to bet most players still don't understand what clearing a bond of life even means, right? So, in this case, it just means bring healing to clear the little debuff that is put on your characters, right? So like, it annoys me because MiHoYo is like already doing text tutorials, which I think are not the greatest, not a particularly good way to do tutorials, right? And then when they're doing their text tutorials, they fail to actually describe any meaningful amount of information in favor of using their stupid lingo. It is 1000% MiHoYo's fault that Loredana was struggling to beat this enemy because they completely failed to give any good information to her. Alright, we got Bond of Life put on us. Can you stop dodging? Yeah, okay. One annoying thing with this enemy is definitely her movement can just make you miss a lot of skills. Again, kind of what I was talking about. Just dodge those. Like, obviously, missing your skills means no energy particles, means you might struggle a little bit more. We gotta heal before Bennett dies. Like that. I think this Navia build might not have enough ER, but whatever. So as always, don't undervalue energy recharge. It's a very useful stat, so you can actually use your character's abilities. And if you don't have it up, it just makes you take a lot longer to do things. It makes it less likely you can live because, you don't have enough energy to use your burst on your healer, right? And then you die. And that's not ideal, usually. Yeah, ultimately you can always just like take these bosses slow, right? And just be good with dodging.
Let's see how strong your results.
If you're good with dodging and you don't do things like that. We heal before we die. Oh boy. If you're good with dodging, you know, don't do things like standing right near her when she does a big attack that will almost instantly kill you. Then what turns out, you can just kill them slogging, right?
Sometimes only the
But
beginning.
anyways, we're almost done here. Obviously, this is a bit easier. Because of the energy situation on Cloud Retainer especially is a little bit close. Because we didn't have our ult up when it would have been ideal. But overall, was no problem. Yeah, and in that instance, if you didn't notice, I didn't even do any charge attack after clearing the Bond of Life. Loredana, honestly, I recommend you just level up one of your Fav codexes for your Cloud Retainer. Most of the other bosses in the game are much easier to deal with by nature of they don't have specific mechanics you need to worry about, right? So you can just kind of bring Zhongli to most of these and just kind of slog your way through in the worst case. So you know what, I'm gonna save this team and I'm just, I don't know, name it like good for most things. The first phase of the whale, to get to the second phase, you just have to either wait it out with the little thing up top here, or you can just hit it as much as possible, which again, so this is another enemy where just having auto-attacking things is nice. It's kind of just do whatever. just deal damage to it, and you'll be fine. Alright, you can just rip through this dude with high damage. I am going to try to make sure... And then when this orb thing pops up, do a normal attack on Farina, and it'll pop it immediately, break through most of his shield, and as soon as you get through the white health bar on this dude, you immediately make it back to the whale phase. And thankfully, this phase automatically regenerates your character's ultimates and whatnot, so you can just immediately start doing things again. And, yeah, you just go to town. And you should not quite die. There we go. Easy. Wow, really? I wasn't even going to include this in the video. I just spent 1 resin in the Deepwood domain in the hopes of getting an ER timepiece for Baiju. The double crit doesn't even matter. But yeah, level this piece up for Baiju, honestly, just because as long as he can burst consistently is what will change the experience of using him meaningfully. For Apep, only notable concern is that you don't... Well, okay, you can bring Dendro. You can still, like, make use out of having Dendro for, like, aggravate on your Electro DPS or something, right? But the Dendro damage itself, so, like, your Hyper Bloom damage, for example, in the Raiden team that was being used this video, will be much lower because he has 70% Dendro damage resistance. Shield... Yeah, this dude can hit very hard, potentially to the point where he might get through Zhongli's shield. And, oh, there's the shield mechanic, so, there it is. Oh, can you get over there in time? Yeah, as long as you get to this shield, that will probably one-shot you. Avoid that, and you'll probably be fine. You just avoided all my damage, didn't you? Yes, you did. There we go. For the Wander boss fight, the only notable thing is he has 50% electro damage resistance, so, you know, Chlorand is not an ideal option against him. You'll probably want to bring Zhongli with him just because it's the main way you don't have to think about some of his annoying mechanics. You can try to interface with his mechanics. You can see it pick up energy blocks generated during the fight to charge the Neo Kasha terminal, and then you can, like, but, like, or you can just not, right? And I think that's what most people do against this dude. And this phase is, of course, just, you know, dodge the attacks, pick up these little blocks by pressing T, and you're kind of good. Alright, grab that, and then we do this. Alright, and then this is the only other notable aspect to this fight, and Arlecchino is very nice for this, because she can actually attack these things without losing her Bond of Life. So she will just permanently have pyro damage uptime. She can charge attack to be able to deal with these. And then, yep. So you can also use Dendro. Yeah, Dendro and Pyro, in my experience, is the best at being able to get through that. Nahid is obviously pretty good as well. I could have probably done Emily there, and I think she would have been good. I forgot Arlecchino. Just in case, and just in case you didn't know, Arlecchino, you see the little X on Wander? You can see it change phases. You gotta let it cook for 5 seconds before you want to do a charge attack on Arlecchino. And for her, all that means is when she has that, that's when she starts doing pyro damage. So if you don't do that, she's a terrible character. Anyways, Lord Otto, feel free to message me again if you need any help with figuring out a particular character's kit. I think for the Mondstadt and Liyue bosses, I'm not going to bother going over them. They don't have that interesting mechanics. Dvalin is Dvalin. Right. The Senora boss fight has cryo resistance in phase 1 And then the second phase has pyro resistance in phase 2. So Arlecchino, for example, is not as good for the second phase. But honestly, you know, you can kind of just slog your way through it. It'll be fine. The main thing to worry about here, of course, is just the mechanic with the cold or the heat going on in the different phases. So, and of course, once it gets to this phase, we have to go chill out here. Emily's going to break this for us. That's fine. You can break them to automatically clear whatever, you know, buildup you have, or you can just stand near these things and not break them, and that works too. And grab these moths, and you can go and do this. You can also attack them with pyro and get through it a little bit faster, but it's not that much faster. I prefer to just use the moths even when you have a pyro unit. Charge attack to absorb the bond, and you're dead. Easy peasy. Alright, the Raiden boss is by far my favorite boss in the game, and doesn't have any particular resistances other than... So if you want to get through the second phase faster, you just want to bring through, you know, like Dendro, for example, will help you get the shield faster. So honestly, we're just going to use this team again, because hey, we got some Dendro, and Pyro is also kind of the second best at dealing with Electro Shields, so yep. This, in my opinion, is also one of the most fun bosses to try to solo with characters, because there's a lot of room for just playing better against this enemy. But of course, we can just, if the goal is just, you know, farm your materials as fast as possible, we can just use Zhongli and kind of not have to worry about things. And, of course, you just teleport away. Do. Of course, we can attack this to interrupt her attack. There we go. Alright, and we stun her for a little bit. And now she's in her second phase, so now if you want to get through it faster, it ticks down on its own over time, but if you want to get through it faster, you can just whack her with Pyro and Dendro, and it'll go down, but otherwise you can just dodge her attacks and you'll get through it anyways. You don't have to bring Dendro or Pyro or an element to get through it faster. Oh yeah, this is the only important one where you definitely want to make sure you do that. If you don't break that, then one of your characters will die. It is a guaranteed one-hit attack, even when you have a shield. And I purposely waited to see this attack. This is my favorite one, because we have Zhongli shield right now, so we don't have to do this. But it's jump rope. How fun. This one's the fun one. If you do that right, I think I did get hit by that. If you do that right, you can jump right through the middle there and not get hit by it. And then she has lower resistances to all elements in this phase, so you can get some really big numbers on this phase if you set up like reactions and whatever. But yeah, not a hard boss if you know what you're doing, but can be a hard boss if you're new to it especially. I personally think this is the best design boss in the game. Just, you know, obtaining the knowledge on how these things work is really all that you need. I definitely like bosses like this one more because this is a boss that you don't really have to look at outside sources of information to ever learn how to deal with it. You just need to, you can just play against Raiden Shogun and learn how to fight her better. Whereas bosses like the Arlecchino boss fight, I can absolutely see why Loredana was having issues, because if you don't know what the Bond of Life mechanic is and it just says clear Bond of Life and do charge attacks, I mean, you don't know what charge attacks are, you don't know what Bond of Life is, gee, that boss is a little bit annoying, isn't it, right? Mihoyo could do a better job, I think, at designing these things, and or at the very least, telling players about their mechanics in a better way. Anywho's, I'm yapping. Loredana, you should not feel bad about struggling with these bosses. You were just having a... Mihoyo is bad at telling you how to deal with the problem. But you can solve the game design problem by just learning things yourself. Alrighty, it's time for the Abyss. So Loredana did not ask me to do anything with Abyss. We've already done everything she wanted me to go over. But I think it would be really fun to see if I can fully clear the Abyss. I'm pretty sure I can. I don't think it'll be that hard. It's so funny to me that not even the last 4 or 5 has been cleared. Yeah, so I'm gonna go clear these. I don't think I'll include these in the footage. These should not be a challenge at all. I might end up skipping straight to floor 12. Okay, here we are in the last chamber of floor 11. I think it's worth mentioning this team quick as an option. So I did not reconfigure Raiden or Nahida, but this is a very, very easy to use, you know, Neuvillette Farina team that can deal with basically all the content the game has to offer. In this team, Raiden should be on a full Hyper Bloom build like I showed earlier, and I also, you know, to prevent this issue where, like, you can see Nahida's a little bit low on health, prefer Prototype Amber for just a little bit of additional healing. Makes you stay slightly more alive. But as far as damage output goes, you get constant Hyper Blooms, you get really good Neuvillette damage, obviously, and even if you have a little bit of, like, energy issues on Neuvillette, you can still do some normal attacks, get some Hyper Bloom damage going. Like, it's a very consistent high damage output team. but we're probably not going to use it in 412. Chevrolet's teams can be very good. We're going to throw in Raiden. I don't know. We're going to do something slightly unconventional. We're going to throw in Raiden in a Chevrolet's team in the second half and see how that goes. And then first half, we're just going to be using a very boring Neutral team. Should swirl after Zhongli. Maybe could have waited for his burst, but he sometimes does a really annoying move in the air. Yeah, that move. Let's absorb now. There we go. I meant to switch to Kazuo there, but it's fine. I didn't mean. Oh my god. Okay, I'm just. See, this is how not to play this team. Okay. Okay, good. It's not the teleporty one. I jumped too early. Well, no swirling for me. Probably could have done that better. Alrighty, so the Tulpa can definitely be a challenge because it hits hard. So when we're not using Zhongli, it's very possible it one-shots us. So we got to be a little bit careful here. But I do things well. Should be gold. Alright, this. Also, if I play this well, we can definitely fit in a Raiden burst here. Although Raiden does not have the best build for it to be that crazy relevant to burst on there. I frame that. Heal up. Very nice. Where's this dude? There he is. Kill him. He gets stunned. I have not fit in a Raiden burst yet because I've been more focused on watching what Tulpa's doing. Just dodge that at the right time. Yeah, that is one of its more dangerous sequences of attacks. Just notice Bennett is kind of almost dead. You know, it's all gosh. You're dead, sir. Okay, not super speedy, but good enough. Alright, so this boss has a plunging mechanic. I'm gonna do this just to heal up my thing a little bit, but you notice, watch how far we can go down with Raiden here, and Chevreuse, just with the overloads alone. Like, we haven't done any plunging, right? And we're doing pretty dang good already, right? So the idea is he has a pretty short window when he's down like this for you to deal damage. So you got to try to output as much damage as possible while he's down. Get through the shield as fast as possible. That's kind of all there is to it. See if we can do this before we get the shield back. Nice, we can crit. With a 40% crit rate, that's pretty lucky. I'm surprised this Raiden crits as much as it does. Alright, and do this. Now, and do this. Keep on getting knocked back because I'm bad. Or maybe not. Oh god. Okay, I got a little bit close there, but still, no problem. That was the first try. Alright, and as long as we play well against this dude, I think we should be good. You know what? Not having... Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I mean by playing well. So yeah, the problem I'm having is actually this team is not actually triggering that many overloads to be able to get through his shield. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oops. It's actually going to be... Frick, I meant to hit Q there. If we had Fischl instead of Raiden here, I don't think that would actually have been a problem, by the way. Because... Oh my god, I keep forgetting to press her with Q! Because I keep on yapping! Can't think it. But yeah, if I had put in Fischl instead of Raiden, we would have been, even with an unleveled Fischl, we would have been triggering a lot more overload, so that was my bad. I'm still going to just try to clear this with this team anyways, but the point is, there was a much more optimal thing to do here that I didn't think about beforehand.
To the ground!
There is no escape. Let's light it up. Everybody stand back. Drop your weapon. This is
Hey, look, I remember to heal from. Wow, crazy. Oh my gosh, stop. I immediately took a bunch of damage. Oh my gosh, stop it. Okay, there we go. I didn't have to do that, but whatever. That, this. And go to town. I think we will be fine. Okay, I must admit I cut it a little bit close there, but still, no problem after I, properly healed on her, like, wow. Wow, look at all of these wonderful rewards. Clear Spiral Abyss 5-3. Yeah, I think we did that. Obviously, Imaginarium Theater should be doable as well. I might do that just for the fun of it. If there is any kind of challenge I run into with Theater, I might include a snippet of it in the video right now. But yeah, overall, this account is obviously not one that has a problem of investment. This account is one that shows, in my opinion, more than any other account I've played in so far, Genshin's core design problem, which is that it's really, 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 really terrible at teaching players the game mechanics. And I'm not saying you have to care about, like, the combat of this game, right? But if you are playing Genshin, you are doing something with the combat. And this game can appeal to a large breadth of different kinds of players, right? Players that like the story, like the exploration, like whatever, like the whole mix of the game. Like, this game is a lot of different things. It appeals to a lot of different people. Genshin is an appealing enough game that a 78-year-old wants to play it. And that's amazing, right? That's really awesome. But it's not designed in a way that is very friendly. The Genshin's struggle to actually teach players how things work, in my opinion, is its biggest flaw. But with that said, right, Loredana has more than enough investment into her account to be able to clear all the content in the game. And even if this was the previous Abyss cycle, where it was a lot harder, it was probably the hardest Abyss cycle the game has ever had, that I don't think would have been a problem either. It was a little bit different of a style of account fixing video that I normally made because of what Loredana wanted me to focus on, and that's great. That's what I want this series to be, is to explore the different aspects of how different people play Genshin and see what I can do in order to help them achieve their goals. And Loredana's goal was not clearing Abyss, but she has the ability to do kind of anything she wants in this game at this point. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this was an enjoyable video. Loredana, again, feel free to message me if you need any help with anything. If you are interested in your account possibly being featured in a video like this one, there's an account submission Google form thingy in the description, or pinned comments most likely. I very purposely want these videos to be focused on, the non-resin aspects of Genshin. I maintain that most people's issues in Genshin, and like when it comes to their accounts and trying to clear content, is more an issue of lack of knowledge of game mechanics. So yada yada, point is, use the submission form if you're interested. I might reach out to you. Otherwise, feel free to subscribe for more videos like this one. Well, okay, I don't think I'll be logging into that many more 78-year-olds Genshin accounts. Now that I think about it, maybe I could like have my grandparents play Genshin. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know. Subscribe and leave a comment and let me know what you want to see, and blah 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 blah. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.